I'm Pandora Brown, your Family Advocacy Program Manager at the Detroit Arsenal.
Yes, and I'm Kim Tisor, the Family Advocacy Program Assistant, and welcome once again to another edition of Self-Care Transformation.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And if you've been following us, you know that for several weeks ago, we spoke with Carmen Wargle. She is a community organizer and educator on the topic of domestic and sexual violence. Since 2006, she has served as the chair of Macomb County Community Domestic Violence Council, and she works at Turning Point, a comprehensive service organization for survivors in domestic and sexual violence in Southeast Michigan. With all of that knowledge, we wanted to bring her back to talk about an area we should all learn more about.
That is right. And the topic we are going to focus on today is what can we do to help a friend that we suspect is being physically or sexually abused. You may think that certainly you don't have a friend that's being abused or anyone within your circle of influence. But if you consider the national statistics that we know are out there indicating that 1 in 4 women will be abused in their lifetime, chances are there is someone you know who is being abused or is healing from past abuse. So we're going to discover what some of the signs are that you can look for, and again, what you can do to help if you suspect someone is being abused. And with that, we want to welcome back Carmen Wargle, who we know is standing by, waiting to join us. And
Yes.
So hopefully she'll be here any second.
That's right.
The countdown begins.
Hi, Carmen.
Hi.
Hello.
Carmen, welcome
Yes.
back.
Yes.
It's good to see you both. How are you?
Oh, thank you, Carmen. We're doing well. Glad to have you back with us. Yes.
I'm glad to be back.
Carmen, you give us workshops to teach others how to help a friend or a loved one who is being physically or sexually abused. And we're going to talk about that. But first, can you tell us what are some of the signs? Can you tell us what are some of the signs to look for to know if someone is being abused? Because they may not have visible marks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pandora, for that question. We want to make sure that we're always reminding people that physical violence is only a small part of the story. And so we're always looking for a pattern of power and control, somebody who is consistently limited or demeaned or marginalized by their partner, or really exhibiting signs of being controlled or isolated.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about those signs, how would you know? Like, is there language that you should look for? Let's say it's with a coworker or maybe a close friend, because it's unlikely they're going to just come out and tell you that this is going on. So what are some of those signs?
I think if you listen to how people talk about their partners and how decisions are made, it'll sort of come to you really clearly, right? So a friend of mine who was being abused, because I do this professionally, but I also, have friends, and one of my friends was being abused. And what I noticed is that she had really heightened fear when she would forget a receipt or something, and it wasn't like I made a mistake, we're really trying to be careful with the bills. It was like really outrageous levels of fear about ordinary things. And so I think paying attention to where your friend or your neighbor or your coworker is exhibiting that level of fear, or whether they're telling you things about how their relationship is working and how decisions are made that really kind of don't line up with what how a healthy relationship should work. Those kinds of subtle cues are often the way our friends begin to tell us that this is what's happening to them.
Yeah, really listening intently to someone. They oftentimes are telling you the story, and we have to just pay close attention to that. So once we do that and we understand that that is going on, how do we ensure that they get the help that they need?
Yeah, and so the most important thing is that we always prioritize self-determination over safety. And so self-determination is how we get to safety. But as friends and support people, as professionals, we often get this order mixed up. So what we want to make sure we're doing is starting with survivor self-determination and knowing that survivors will create their own safety. That means I don't get to go in and swoop in and take over anybody's life. I don't get to say, we're leaving right now for a shelter, or you have to leave that person right away. I don't get to be bossy. I just get to create opportunities and share information for my friend to make her own decision.
I want to back up just a little bit. And before you even get to that part, so let's say we suspect someone is being abused, but we don't know for sure. Is there a right way or a wrong way to approach someone to ask them, is this what's going on?
Absolutely, Kim. And I'd like to share a graphic with you all, if that would work. Oh, I can't do it. It doesn't work. Oh, well.
Okay.
So that's fine. So we'll talk through it. So the first thing is, if you suspect that somebody that you know or work with, that something might not be right, the first is just to share general information. So I always encourage people to say, hey, I watched this interview with this woman, Carmen from Turning Point, and she was amazing. She talked about domestic violence, and I learned all these new things. And what it does is it begins to open up the door to say that you are a person who is open to having conversations about issues like this. And you really want to ask gentle questions with what we call lots of identifiers. So I would say, you know, Kim, I might be totally wrong about this, and you know, I'm wrong a lot, but I just noticed that sometimes you feel really worried about getting home late when we go out for dinner. And I just wondered if you wanted to talk to me about what happens if you get home late and what's making you feel so worried. And if you don't want to talk about that right now, we can talk about the movie we watched and how great it was. Now, did you see how many outs I gave you?
Yes, that was so good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you really want to be gentle about it, because what survivors expect is that you're going to be bossy and take over their lives, right? And so we want to assure them, we're just wondering, and we're not going to demand any action be taken. We're really just here to listen. That's the most important piece.
Well, and I would think for the survivor, that would help them or let them know that you're not going to be dismissive about it. Because I would think, you know, it would be hard to open up and share with someone. You know, you might be worried that they may not believe you, or, oh, that doesn't happen, or, you know, but that kind of lets the person know this is someone I could talk to, even if I'm not ready right now.
Exactly. And you just want to plant those seeds, because often we do this. Like, our friends do start to tell us things, and they tell us like, oh, you know, my partner and I had a big fight last night. And instead of really listening, we jump in and we say, oh, I know it's been so stressful with COVID. Everybody I know is fighting with their partner. And we don't really hear that somebody is trying to tell us something is happening that is beyond the typical fighting, and because we just want to normalize it and make everybody feel better.
Good point.
Yeah.
Do that all the time.
Yeah, just a personal example. Just before we started this today doing our show, I spoke with someone and just shared with them that I needed to end the call early because I needed to do a YouTube video. And they said, oh, what is it about? And I told them the topic was domestic violence. And they said, well, that's something that I'd like to see. And she said, I bet you I could benefit from that. And so to me, that's just an open door. When we finish this one, I'm going to make sure I share it with her. You know?
Right. And we just want to make sure that people have access to information, and that people know that we're trustworthy and we're non-judgmental. We're not going to judge for what happened. We're not going to dismiss. Yes. And we're really going to listen, but not in a way that then takes over and says, well, here is what you need to do.
Exactly.
Because out of the best of intentions, we tend to just jump in and we want to rescue the person. But the person who knows how to rescue themselves is the survivor.
That's right. Because the whole goal is for them, like you said, to be a good listener. And it's in their timing. Everything is their timing. We can't put our own biases in that situation. Not talk about what I would do. It's not important what you would do. It's important for you to understand that they have to put their own plan in action.
And sometimes that means understanding that sometimes the best decision isn't to leave. So we often talk about how courageous it is to leave, but it can be just as courageous to stay. And that's important for survivors to know, is that it is courageous to survive. And sometimes that means staying, and sometimes that means leaving. And both are fine choices.
Exactly. The no judgment zone is what I like to say when you're having that conversation, you know. Yep.
Is it wrong to assume that abuse only occurs in certain, let's say, socioeconomic levels? You know, because I think some people might just assume, oh, surely that doesn't happen to anyone. All across the board, right?
It does. There is absolutely no correlation related to socioeconomic status. And you know that tank top that's got like a bad name. My best friend, who is the smartest person I know, always says she wants to make a billboard that has, you know, all different, like a doctor's coat and a police uniform and a suit and, you know, construction, because what we want to show is that this happens in all communities, and no one is immune.
Yes, that's right.
Glad you brought that out.
Wow. Well, Carmen, thank you again for coming. We want to welcome you back anytime, if you will, to share.
I love chatting with you both. You know it. So just have me back whenever. And thanks so much for inviting us on. Please remember to share the Turning Point crisis line information. And remember that our number is 586-463-6990. And we're here to help survivors, and we're also here to help survivors' friends. So if you are worried about somebody in your life, give us a call. We can help.
Yes.
Is there anything that was good? A good way to wrap it up. But anything else you want to add before we let you go, Carmen?
I'm good for today. Thanks so much, Kim. Thanks, Pandora.
Thank you so much.
Carmen, take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Wow, another good episode, if I do humbly say so myself. Carmen is full of such good information, and I really love the part about how to approach someone, you know, and giving people an out, because I think that would be hard for someone to open up, but just for them to know they have a friend standing by willing to listen, I think is so valuable.
That's very valuable. We have to listen to those cues, especially during this time where people are unable to really disclose a lot because they're in the home with the person that's abusing them. So we have to be good listeners and do a lot of, if we do social distancing, understand if people aren't going to come out or just pay attention. We really do.
That's right. Such a good point. Well, if you enjoyed this episode and past episodes, would you please give us a thumbs up, as well as consider subscribing to Self-Care Transformation.
Yes. Thanks again for watching. And remember, we're in it together, and together we're better. Bye, everyone.
That's right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.